Hi everyone, and welcome to the Bear Necessities. I'm Bear, and today we are making cheesecake. But this is one that's a little bit better for me, at least. As far as it's lower fat, it's not completely fat-free, but it's lower fat, it's sugar-free, and it's high protein. I know that just sounds like the most exciting thing ever in your life, but it actually is for me, and it's a pretty darn good cheesecake. My family enjoys it, and they are not shy about telling me they don't like something. So, yeah. So to get started, I have a springform pan here. You don't have to have one. You can use just like a regular pie pan or just like a baking dish, whatever you've got, as long as it has decently tall sides and it's not too big. Like a little brownie pan, about 2.5 inches, thank you oven, 2.5 inches tall, or even a 9x9. 9x13 is okay, but you're gonna have a thinner cheesecake, so you'll have to reduce the amount of time, but otherwise it'll be fine. And this is gonna be baked, so to get started, let's go ahead and preheat our oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. That is some temperature in Celsius. I am so sorry, I actually forgot to look it up. So, oops. And beginning with everything, we actually need to get some parchment ready for our springform. So I have a sheet of parchment here. It's just a little bit larger than the springform pan itself. And I'm going to fold it in half a couple of times, and you'll see what I'm doing. Because cutting round parchment, not fun. You can actually just trace around your pan, but there's no reason for that. Whereas you can fold your sheet in half, fold it in half again, and then on the angle, you're going to fold that in half, and then one more time. So just a couple of folds, and you'll have what looks like the world's tiniest piping bag. And we're going to find about the center of our pan, so I have it on upside down so I can see the bottom of it. And we're going to find about the center of the pan and go out from there. And where the edge is, just make a quick little fold. And we're going to cut that. And so now we have a piece of parchment that fits in our pan. And you do want it to be the tiniest bit larger, just so that as we're making it, nothing kind of leaks out the sides, just in case. I have this springform that is notorious for leaking things, so I say play it safe. And we're just gonna press it down. Easy as that. So you have a couple of choices now. You can forego a crust completely, or you can add a crust. I mean, those are your choices here. I'm going to add a crust today, and it's just going to be a quick little crumble crust. And for that, I have 1/3 of a cup to, actually it's closer to a half a cup, sorry, of coconut flour and about 1/2 cup of rolled oats. And then I also have about 3 tablespoons of stevia in here. So just stevia for baking, so it's the 1-to-1 mix. And I am going to add butter to this, and that's why this is not a completely fat-free cheesecake for me. However, if you were to not use butter or not use a crust, you would be set. And I'm just going to press the butter in and get this all broken up in it like a good crumble. And that was about 2 tablespoons of butter. I don't know if I told you that. So we're going to just keep breaking this up until it's nice and even. Okay, so I've got the butter broken up into this pretty well. I made sure to massage it in as much as possible, just to get it even, and so that it kind of holds a shape when you press it. You don't need much more than that. And if you want, you can add just a sprinkle of salt to this. I'm not going to. I think it's actually okay because the butter that I used is salted, so we don't need much more than that. And I'm just going to get this entire crumble crust into my parchment lined pan. And get it spread out pretty evenly. And you don't need it to go up the sides. That's fine without that. Then you're going to bake this at 325 degrees for about 10 minutes or until it's golden brown. You can also use graham crackers or sandwich cookies, whatever you have and whatever you like as a crust, with a little bit of melted butter and just kind of do the same thing, but you're not going to have to pre-bake those. But this one, because it's got like the coconut flour and everything, I want it kind of toasted together just to really set and get a little bit crisp. So I'm going to pop this in the oven and I'll see you back in just a second. All right, so we have our crust going in the oven and I just had to pull everything in and get ready. For the cheesecake, you're going to need, for this size, and it does break down pretty easily, like it divides pretty well, 2 8-ounce packages of non-fat or Greek yogurt, non-fat, cream cheese. So Greek yogurt, cream cheese, or just regular non-fat, or you can use Neufchâtel if you would like. It's reduced fat. We're just trying to pull it back. If you want to use regular, I'm not going to judge because it is creamy and delicious. Just, you know, this is what I'm working with, is non-fat cream cheese. Then you're going to have a cup of whatever sweetener you're going to be using. I'm using stevia today with a little bit of allulose mixed in, but not much. And then you will need 2 eggs. And here's where the protein starts adding on top of the dairy. This is 2/3 of a cup of unflavored, you can also use vanilla or whatever flavor you want, protein powder. So this is whey protein isolate, and this has roughly about 65 grams of protein in it just as it is, that measurement. So you don't have to have the protein for this cheesecake. You can forego it completely and just continue as it is, and it'll still turn out amazingly well, I promise. But from there, we're also going to add 2 pots of, come on, there we go, get all the cream cheese off. 2 pots of non-fat Greek yogurt. If you want to use flavored, again, you can. That is no problem with this cheesecake. You want to do cherry or whatever, that's fine. I know a lot of people use salted caramel if you can find it, and because salted caramel cheesecake is amazing. And it's one of the ways that you can kind of make it feel indulgent without, you know, really killing yourself on calories or fat. And y'all, I know I am all about buttery, delicious goodness, but every now and then I just need something gentle on my tummy. So we're doing this. Then I also have the zest and juice of 2 lemons. This is optional. I just wanted a lemon cheesecake because I love it. And also a 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I would just leave that whatever you make, just because the vanilla adds such a lovely sweet flavor to it. And it makes it very much taste like something homey and just really gentle and lovely. So let's get those mixed together just so they can start kind of creaming up. So those are our messiest ingredients, that's for sure. And you will need the rubber spatula or just whatever scraper. I'm also going to grab my little whip over here because while this cream cheese is room temperature, it's not wanting to get super creamy, and that we actually do need it to get there. If you want to use your electric mixer for this, please do. Stand mixer, hand mixer, whatever you got. Or, you know, your 12-year-old kid. Whatever you got. but we're just going to get that nice and creamed up. Let's move these pots over to the side. And we're going to add our eggs. I'm going to grab my bowl from earlier just to make sure I don't get any shell. 1 egg. And as albumin goes everywhere. Cool, now I get to wear it. It's the kitchen, things happen. And there's the second one. And we're going to get those mixed in. So now we're going to add our sweetener. Again, I'm using stevia. You can use whatever you want. Try to make sure that it's not a liquid, just because it kind of throws off the baking. If you have only liquid, just keep that in mind and watch the cheesecake as it bakes. All right, sweetener is now mixed in. And finally for me, again, this is optional, but it's a base part of the recipe that I use. And that's our 2/3 of a cup of whey protein isolate. You can also use soy protein. I wouldn't use pea protein, just the texture is a little weird and the flavor is awful. So like in this, unless you just really like the flavor of pea protein, then you know what? Blessings upon you for that. I can't get past the flavor. Soy protein though, it's fine. It doesn't taste like anything. All right, so we've got that all creamy and together, and we still have a couple of minutes left on the crust before it's ready. So I'm gonna let this rest for just a minute, and once the crust is done, we'll be back and be able to continue. All right, y'all, so the crust is done baking. It's been about 5 minutes since I got it out. So it's cooled a little bit, but I'm still not gonna grab it just in case. But it is nice and toasty and brown. It smells like toasted coconut, which of course is awesome because it's got coconut flour in it. Yours will smell like whatever you add into yours. So if you use nut flours or something, it's gonna smell like those toasted up, which is delightful, right? So into this, we're gonna go ahead and put this in here. But first of all, I have my oven preheating back to 325 degrees because it was off for just a little bit. And in there, I have already put, because I'm using a toaster oven, like my baker oven, but because I'm using a smaller oven, I have just a little ramekin that I have filled with hot water, and I have it tucked into the back corner of my oven because we do need a little bit of moisture for this. A lot of people do a water bath. We're not doing that for this one, so don't worry. It will still turn out, I promise. So into here, before we do anything, let's grab some handy spray. Oh, it's actually cool enough to touch. Okay. And we're just going to give the sides the lightest spray just to give us an advantage on removing this sucker when it's done baking. And just kind of giving the crust a little bit more of a press just to make sure it's not puffy or anything, which it's not, thankfully. Let's get our cheesecake mix into the pan. Now again, if you are not using a crust at all, then welcome to the recipe. Thank you, oven. My oven is preheated now. All right, and we just want to get as much in there as possible because this is delicious and we don't want to waste it. That is all. Put that to the side. And I am going to level this off just the slightest bit. Make sure everything is in there. Quick little rinse. And before we bake, cool. Just wanted to make sure there weren't any really big bubbles inside. So now I'm going to get this into there, and I'm going to bake it at 325 degrees for about 30 minutes. I'm going to start checking it around 25, and just to see how done it is. I'll give it a little jiggle, and if the center is still just the slightest bit movie, like it's just, you know, but the outside is set, perfect. I'm going to stop it, and what I will do is turn the oven off, open the door, and let it vent for about an hour, and I'm going to let the cheesecake cool in the oven for an hour. So just come down naturally from the temperature in there, and that'll finish up the cheesecake baking, and it'll also help prevent it from cracking on top. If you're not worried about that, cool, just do whatever. But I'm going to do that. Let's hope it turns out, because every now and then it doesn't. If you're using a larger oven, you will need a big pan or something with hot water on it. On the lower rack and on the middle rack, you'll put your cheesecake in there, and that's just going to provide the steam that's going to help it not only control the temperature, but also just to keep it moist while it bakes. Because remember, there's not a lot of fat in this, so it's going to need a little bit of help in keeping everything super creamy, because fat is really where that comes from. So the humidity really helps it out. So let's get this in the oven, and I'll see you back soon. Okay, y'all, I'm back, and our cheesecake is done. It got lovely and delicious, of course, because it was in the toaster oven. It was closer to the top, so it got a little bit brown on the top, but it's not burnt. It's got that lovely chewy layer that is just so good. But because I allowed it to cool in the oven, it did not crack on the top at all. It's fantastic. It was perfectly set. So I just let it sit in there for about an hour-ish or so, and I took it out and just let it come down all the way to room temperature. So let's see what it's like on the inside. I'm going to take my offset and just run it around the outside edge really quick, just to make sure, like even though we sprayed the pan, just to make sure nothing's stuck, because it's gonna. Nature of the beast and all that. Oh, well, the crust is good. Promising. Okay, I'm just going to release the springform and get crumbs all over my counter. Don't even worry about it. Have my cake plate here. Perfect. Look, parchment came right off. So we'll just do that. Let me gather crumbs up really quick. Get them out of the way. And look at our cheesecake. The sides came out so nice. Crust looks amazing. Let's slice it and see how it turned out. Get a nice, healthy slice. So, I don't know if you can tell, but that is really soft, creamy, just like a cheesecake should be. I am happy with how this turned out. It is creamy, it is soft, really tart, nicely, just slightly sweet, lots of lemon flavor in there. And it's really rich from the eggs that we had in there. And I'm in love. I love this recipe already, but it just turned out so much better tonight. I don't even know why, but I'm happy with it. And so I invite you to attempt it. Make it your own, of course. Maybe put some fresh fruit in the bottom. Maybe slice up some strawberries, put them on top, drizzle it with chocolate. You know, do whatever. Make some salted caramel, put it right over the top, or just in your mouth. I'm not gonna judge. But make it yours. Make it your own. And enjoy it. Enjoy the heck out of the process. Making a good cheesecake and then getting to sit around and eat it solves the world's problems. I mean, it worked for the Golden Girls. It's got to work for us, right? And until I see all of y'all again, bye.